One night, a nurse working her night shift noticed something peculiar on her patient. The IV drip dosage is a bit too high for this particular patient that she's taking care of. She considered calling the doctor for confirmation, but remembered that the doctor scolded her for bothering him when she rang him for something similar 2 nights ago. Discouraged, she gave up calling the doctor and she ignored the vital signs. This nurse was feeling psychologically unsafe in her environment, stopping her from speaking up. Hello, welcome to the webinar, everyone. I'm your host today, Daniel, and these are my friends, Davina, Francisca, and Shini. And today we'll be talking about psychological safety, which is the degree of confidence you have in a community to express yourself without bringing negative consequences to yourself. And recently, it has become a quite huge topic amongst the news and companies. Everyone's just paying attention to it. So panelists today, uh, you all probably have some exposure to it and some knowledge about it, and probably have some experience related to psychological safety as well. So, guys, I'm gonna divert the question to you all. So, is there a time where you guys felt psychologically unsafe in any community at all? And how does that make you feel?
Yeah, thanks so much for having us, Dan, as well as for giving us a brief explanation on what psychological safety is in general. So, to answer your question, yes, I have felt psychologically unsafe at a cafe I worked at part time, and this was about 2 years ago. So, I did not feel psychologically safe there because I was not allowed to share my thoughts. I was not allowed to provide suggestions to the boss, and whenever I did or tried to do, I was given the cold shoulder or treated differently from my coworkers. It was definitely a difficult place to work at because I felt that I was constantly walking on eggshells. And at one point, I believed that it was actually my fault that the boss was treating me like this.
Mhm.
So, yeah, definitely an experience that made me feel psychologically unsafe. But after the event, after the experience, it actually brought me more awareness on what I wanted from a leader and also how I could do better on my end. It really emphasized the need for psychological safety when looking for a new job or when working with a team. Yeah, that's
Mm.
that's about it. Would
I,
Shini like to share?
yeah, let's pass it
Oh,
to Shini.
oh, sure. Yeah, despite your terrible experience, Francesca, I'm glad that you're here with us today to share your story. And yeah, I do relate to your experience to some extent. And yeah, I remember one group discussion in college. I found myself constantly hesitant to voice out my opinions and ideas because of the unresponsive and arrogant attitude of my teammates. So whenever I wanted to contribute, I was met with like judgmental remarks and my suggestions were quickly brushed away. So this is where it makes me unwilling to like participate in um further maybe discussions and somehow doubting the value of my input. So since then I just began to follow the group's discussion and suppressing my own thoughts and creativity. Yeah, that's what I experienced. So what about you, Davina?
Thanks for sharing, Francesca and Shini. So experience was quite similar to Shini actually, but I can give you the impact of what psychological safety is. So like every university students, we've had several experiences of managing team dynamics at some point. So to make projects going smoothly, it's key for us to have effective communication between team members, right? So, however,
Yeah.
I find it difficult to achieve that throughout my life because most of the team members do not vocalize their thoughts and feelings. So, because of the absence of communication, I was forced to take the first step to be vocal about it. And I never liked it until today because I can never understand what's going on to the other side, like what are they thinking, and it always makes me anxious of how this performance is going to affect my grade. So what I'm saying is that by not creating a comfortable and safe atmosphere where people can convey their expression, is going to wholly affect their performance and the result of the project.
I see. Yeah, that's pretty agonizing to hear, and I totally relate to that as well. For all of you, Francisco, you shared about how your boss treat you, how your boss treat you in a condescending way and doesn't accept your ideas and all that.
Yeah.
I definitely experienced that before as well when working when working in a factory. There's a power distance with the boss as well, so I don't really dare to speak up when he when he's like kind of scary. He's kind of scary to talk to. It just felt it's just so scary as well. And for Davina and Princess, I definitely feel that way as well. In college and in university, there's a lot of um, group projects, and coordinating with new people is kind of a hassle, and they don't really work together. Sometimes, in a group there are cliques as well. So like they are friends with each other, but we don't really know them. So there's not really conversations going on. It's just kind of annoying to deal with. And yeah, it doesn't feel psychologically safe to voice out my opinions as well, because they will talk about amongst their friends and just kind of ignore my input, and they may make their own decisions as well. So I'm kind of out of the loop as well. I don't feel included. That's kind of an issue. So I totally relate to that. And let's see, we do have some questions right now. So let's see, we have a question from Ali. So where do you draw the line in psychological safety? Is there a standard, or does it differ from each person? What do you guys think?
Okay, I can add on a bit here that we're actually going to talk about some stages. Like we're going to elaborate more on psychological safety. So maybe that's when we can answer Ali's question about drawing the line.
Does anyone else have an idea?
I think I
Anything
agree
else?
with Francesca's. Yeah, we can explain it to the other state with the other model later on. We have a
So
model for you to show.
we do have a model to share. All right. Okay.
Yeah.
Let's address the other questions first. We have another question from Vivia. So, Vivia is asking me about is there a time where I felt psychologically unsafe? I hope the experience I just explained answer your question. So yeah. So there are. So what we shared earlier, they are examples of psychosocial risks that impair psychological safety. So yeah, there are 4 criteria for psychological safety as proposed by Timothy Clark. So for our audience, if you guys are interested, you can go check out his stuff on YouTube and whatever. There's a lot of information about that as well. But for now, can anyone elaborate more on what the components of psychological safety are?
Okay, so with pleasure. So Timothy Clark conceptualized 4 stages of psychological safety. So let me pull up a slide for you to understand. Can we go to the slide?
Yeah. Ali, can you pull out the slides? Thank you.
Yes, thank you. The next, please. So yeah, okay. So the first stage we have here at the bottom. So you can see that this is a stage where we feel secure and welcome to the workplace. So you are accepted for who you are. The second stage looks at the learner safety. So this is where you feel comfortable asking questions, getting feedbacks, experimenting with things, and learning from mistakes. Then we have the third stage, which is the contributor stage. So this is where someone feels secure to use their skills and make meaningful impact out of it, and they're not afraid to showcase their skills or to create jealousy within the workplace. And lastly, we have the challenger safety, and this stage is where we feel confident in speaking up and giving suggestions to people.
Yep, thanks for explaining the stages, Davina. So I would like to also elaborate more on what she just explained. So all these stages are important and each plays a role in enhancing an individual's performance. This is because when you feel safe enough, you're able to speak up on what you're struggling with and find errors in the work we do. So with the nurse example that we have mentioned earlier, and it is also have been found that if you begin to take up tasks with more confidence and execute them with responsibility, because you know that there are people out there who are supporting you and want you to succeed. Yep, and that's all from me. So for Francesca, do you have anything to add on?
I think that both you, Shinyi, and Davina brought up some really good points. Maybe I can just add on a little more of an example. So there was this project by Google, and Google actually did this study and called Project Aristotle because of one of Aristotle's great quotes, which were the whole is greater than the sum of its parts. So this signified that the whole is teamwork and that it is much more efficient than its parts, which are the individual people. And this project focused on measuring how they can build high-performing teams, and so they recruited 180 teams, and they found that psych safety actually played a huge role in it. The teams that set clear expectations, those encouraged open communication, as well as demonstrated vulnerability, were the ones that were most likely to excel as a team. So all in all, I think it's pretty cool how one of the biggest companies like Google could prove that site safety is indeed a staple in an organization's team.
Yeah, so it's pretty cool to know that. Yeah, Google actually, yeah, like what you just said, Google. I didn't know that about Google. Google's Project Aristotle. That, but it proved that hey, site safety is quite important, especially in our current era where there's uh, a lot of stressors that impairs our team potential. Like what we just said earlier, there's the 4 stages: inclusion safety, learner safety, contributor safety, and challenger safety. I think it kind of goes on like a step. So if you feel included in a group, then you're more likely to learn. And when you learn, you can contribute. And then when you contribute, you can challenge the ideas and make innovations as well. So that's definitely cool to know that. We have a question from Jesse. Um, how do you bring up the issue of psychological safety when it is not safe to bring out issues? Does anyone want to have a go on that? So, how to bring up the issue of psychological safety when it's not safe to do so? Personally, I think, right. Um, we could write. Sometimes we cannot really directly challenge authorities. Like sometimes bosses and all that, they are too busy, or sometimes they are too scary to do so. I do have some personal experiences about this as well. So like it's about with a teacher actually. This teacher doesn't really listen uh, to the problems in class, and when we try to ask questions like, oh, teacher, I have a question. And then the teacher will be like, why didn't you listen to me earlier? Why didn't you pay attention in class? It's kind of annoying. So I don't, from there onwards, I don't really dare to ask questions anymore. But I came up with a plan, which is to write emails instead. And I found out that from email, although the tone can still be a bit harsh, she is definitely more helpful to do that. But I also contact the department, so there's communications thing going on. And she after some time, I think she changed a bit on her attitude, probably because of a meeting or with the headmaster and all that. But writing proposals and staying calm as your when you're not personally, I think, so staying calm as a underclassman and not lose your composure and staying respectful. I think that's a way to bring out issues respectfully and not shake the power status as well.
Yeah,
Yeah,
perhaps to sorry, perhaps to like answer Jesse's question, I think you can also maybe perhaps like in a workplace environment, you can maybe find someone who you are like comfortable with to talk to, and then maybe when you have questions, you can approach that person you're comfortable with first. Yeah,
Mhm.
just step one first step, your first step out, and then you can maybe try to build up your confidence to approach others as well.
Yeah.
Davina, you have something to say just now?
no, to be honest, my idea is the same as yours. So yeah,
All
basically
right,
just
all
find
right.
the social support that you can find, and then
Mhm.
yeah, basically it's kind of scary, right, to talk individually. So you just need to find a friend who can trust, and
Yeah,
seniors
I
or
agree.
respectable
Mhm.
ones. Yeah.
Yeah, I agree.
Does Francisco have anything else to add?
I think that y'all summarized it quite well, but maybe just to speak from personal experience, when I felt it wasn't safe to bring up issues, what I did was to do research. Like I tried to do research on how can I communicate more sensitively to people, how can I bring up topics like without like causing havoc. So like to use
Mm,
terms like, oh, so I feel then like I've tried this method and this is the outcome, and I was thinking, could we work towards finding a solution that will help us get maybe 20 sales rather than 10 sales. So I don't personalize the problem. I don't say it's because of you. That's why there's an issue. Yeah, I try to see it as very objective. Yeah, it's us against the problem.
I see. Yeah, that's definitely a good approach. It's focusing on the issue instead of the person yourself. It decreases the personal attacks as well. Just kind of make it more psychologically safe. We also have a question from just in from Monica. Other than in workplace, have you ever felt unsafe psychologically, and how should companies be able to be more aware about the situation? Does
Davina.
Davina? So yeah, other in the workplace, have we ever felt psychologically unsafe? Yeah, in schools and communities. I I joined clubs before, and it was a comic club, and it's kind of hard to contribute ideas because everyone is like, wow, they're so talented, they have authority, there's a strict regime to go on, and we can't really contribute to things. And how should we be be more aware, let companies be more aware of the situation? Contact authorities. That's my opinion, actually. Does anyone else have anything to add?
In terms of bringing awareness, I feel like through these programs, people can be more aware. But at the same time, we've seen that Malaysia is currently trending in trying to be more psychologically safe.
Mhm.
So yeah,
Oh yeah,
I don't really know
about
if I answered the question.
yeah, no worries. Does that answer your question? Hopefully that does, because I believe that we have more ideas and concepts to address your question as well. But let's pull back, like what you said about Malaysia just now. What does that look like in the context of our country?
Okay, yeah. So Malaysia is currently trending in terms of being more psychologically safe, and we think that it's really amazing because there have been so many cases in Malaysia itself of psychologically unsafe situations. So it's been on newspapers, on chats, forums. You may just hear it from your friends, your family as well. So just a small example would be on how some companies do not have good management. So friends, families, and also Glassdoor have uh, given a lot of complaints how the HR department will ignore your feedback, ignore your suggestions, and there are people out there who have been told hey, this is just how the working world is lah. You just need to put your head down, get the work done, and then you can go home. So it's extremely saddening how our people in Malaysia are told that this is normal, but our CEO, Hathel, and Supreme Leader, once
That's
mentioned
true.
that just because something is normal does not mean that it is okay in the workplace.
Yeah, I totally agree with what you said, Francisca. And it reminded me of some few other cases in Malaysia that were not psychologically safe, such as sexual harassment. I was scrolling on this forum called Reddit about people's experience at workplace, and it was horrible. It was about a 26-year-old woman continuously sexual harassed by a boss for months. She went through unwanted physical contact and offensive comments about her body. I saw that the comments were actively discussing that not all companies have effective policies to address workplace harassment, and they do not take complaints seriously to ensure that all their employees are treated with respect and also protected from sexual harassment. But I also saw that another news, women are not only the targeted individuals, but men do also experience sexual harassment. And there's a news that I've read where a male working in a Malaysian company faces sexual remarks in the office, but often these perpetrators will have not been disapproved. And most people would think that yeah, it's quite a normal occurrence for people to be sexualized or touched inappropriately, and it is not taken as seriously compared to women.
Hmm.
It's really sad listening to all of these cases. It's even more sad to know that it does not stop there, and there will always be cases like this. Anyone can be a victim. So there's plenty of cases out there, but there's this one case that particularly captured my attention. So there's a news covering a workplace bullying in the medical industry, specifically the houseman of Malaysia. So these housemen did not get a chance to have a break, and they were forced to work extra long hours, even on their day offs. So medical officers would even threaten them to if they make any complaints about their working hours, and thus were forcing them to endure bullying and mistreatment. So from this, we can see that the hierarchy culture restricts housemen to express themselves or make their own decision just because the medical officer says so. So a working environment with no respect towards co-workers for the contribution as well as the poor management makes co-workers unable to communicate with everyone.
Yeah, I believe that that's truly a problem. That what you just say it is. I believe there's something about power distance, about culture and all that. But that's a topic for another day. But this is the situation that Malaysia is facing. A lot of bullying, harassments, in multiple different forms, bad management, and it impairs psychological safety in workspaces, and it makes workers and employees to be scared to voice out their their opinions and their thoughts to authorities as well. So, and it makes this and something when something like this is so normalized, it became okay to do so to people. But in reality, like what our CEO just said before, normal does not always necessarily mean it's okay to do so.
Yeah, I agree. And it is important to show the citizens of Malaysia about psychological safety and how it can be related to them and know that where they are standing and what they can do about it. So with this kind of awareness created, people can get more conversations going on, and it's for them to be easier to start making the environment psychologically safe, not just for us as a team or colleagues and also your company.
Like what you just said, there's as long as there's communication going on, and hopefully with mutual respect and understanding, then hopefully there's going to be like improvements going to be made. So yeah, definitely identifying problems like what we did earlier is a great start to getting things fixed. And yeah, so it's sad to see that in Malaysia there's so many harassment cases and bullying cases that happen in workspaces. So when people are trapped in this kind of psychological unsafe environment, it makes them feel like whatever they do, they cannot get out of the situation as well, and it kind of discourages the new workforce as well. Like maybe going into the new environment, it makes them feel like maybe it is normal to be treated like so. I saw on Reddit as well. I browsed Reddit and saw some people questioning like, "Hey, my boss is restricting me from taking a lunch break and all that. Is this normal?" and stuff like that. So it kind of make it so abusive, in a very abusive workspace. So definitely important to bring it out.
Yeah.
So yeah.
Yeah, exactly. Because a lot of people overlook their mental well-being, especially coming from a country that stigmatized the concept of mental health at first. So it is also why we need to debunk the misconception and also address that we actually have the rights to convey our voices without fear.
Yeah, that's right. So to make changes, if we want to start making changes, we need to know if we are psychologically safe or not. Sometimes in cases, as far as I know, sometimes we are like what I said earlier. They do not know that they are in a psychologically unsafe environment. So we need something to assess it. Is there anything we can use to assess this psychological safety?
That's a great question, Dan. So fortunately, we can use the assessment proposed by Amy Edmondson, so which includes the four stages of psychological safety. Just now I talked about Timothy Clark's. So it includes inclusion safety, learner safety, contributor safety, and challenger safety. That's how we identify it.
Oh, that's cool. Any websites or applications that I can use to assess my psychological safety?
Yeah, so we have this PsychMe app, which can be a great help in helping us to see psychologically safety in teams. Yeah, the slide's coming up. Okay, yeah, so I'll show you what it looks like. This app is designed to offer a variety of assessments. People can choose which include psychological safety, and then we'll show a short video on how to do it, which will be played soon. So anyway, this assessment is based on Professor Amy Edmondson, as mentioned by Davina. So Amy wanted to measure how safe people felt to take interpersonal risks at their workplace or in their teams. So she only used 7 items, and because it's only 7 items, it would take about 3 to 5 minutes to complete.
Yep, Francesca. And after doing the test, you can see your results compared with the average scores, and we call it like benchmark score. So to see if you are psychologically safe in your workplace, there's like small explanations as you can see at each stage, and also at the bottom, yep, and you can see there's a chart. Yeah, there's the scores provided there. Yeah.
Yeah, so it's quite cool, right? So then the result you can see that click on that guidebook to provide at the bottom and the 2 model stages, the reasoning behind the questions, and small steps you can take by the organization or yourself to improve the situation. Looks like it's a very comprehensive and detail oriented. So would you like to give it a try then? We will also share our results and discuss it together.
All right, sure. So 7 questions should not take that long. Let's see. Well, I now currently have this chart. So how do I make sense of it?
Okay then, let's have these slides and I'll explain to you. Okay, next slide.
Okay.
Okay, so we have mentioned that this assessment uses the 4 stages of psychological safety to understand where we stand, right? So this table shows that the score can be broken down into 3 segments. You can see there's low, moderate, and high level. So next, let's look back at Dan's result.
Here you go.
Okay, so your learner stage is at a moderate level, which is, yeah, fine as well. And then other psychological safety score are high. So congrats then, your workplace is psychologically safe.
Oh, that's interesting. So, that means, well, I'm doing pretty well in my results. It seems like I have a 76% overall psychological safety score here. So that's pretty cool to know that.
Yep, you're absolutely right, Dan. So now, with your high score, could you go to the next slide?
Sure.
Yeah, so with your high score, you may feel
Mhm.
that it is easy to share your thoughts and opinions to your team. You're accepted for who you are, and you're also welcomed at the workplace. Besides that, you do not feel judged or humiliated for asking questions or giving feedback to them. And later you see from our graphs that Shinyi and we actually share the same category as you, where we feel psychologically safe. Davina is under the moderately psychologically safe category. So for her, she may feel that there is some improvements that can be done to feel more psychologically safe. She may hesitate sometimes to share opinions or her thoughts because she isn't sure that she'll be judged or put down. And then lastly, there is the low score, which puts people under psychologically unsafe. So this score may mean that you do not feel safe at all to speak your mind. You are not allowed to ask questions. You do not feel welcomed or accepted in this organization.
I see.
I think that's a very simple way to put it, Francesca. Thank you. So let's go to the results a bit more detail to help them understand better. So
Okay.
can you go to my slide, please?
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
Okay,
that's
so
the.
here's the result. Yeah. So on average, I scored 33% on the psychological safety with my teams. I do agree at some point that I'm afraid to speak on my thoughts, like Francesca said at times, and since I still feel quite uncomfortable with the atmosphere. So this graph does validate my feelings, and am still trying to figure out how am I going to bounce back from this.
Get well soon.
Okay,
Thank you.
so I'll share my result as well. So yeah, let's go to my results.
Okay, here you go.
Okay, so for my graph, I actually scored like almost every item above the benchmark score, which I think is a good thing for me to know that I'm still in a healthier range of psychological safety while working with my team. Yeah, I also can relate a little to what Davina said. I also do feel awkward in some situations while working together, where you can see I only scored like 50% for the contributor safety, which is the only one below the benchmark score. But I do agree with the scores from the graph, as most of the time I'm able to like easily cope with the consequences in teamwork, and do feel safe also in like contributing my opinion in a group setting. Yep, that's all from me. So what about you, Francisca? What's your score?
Yeah, thank you so much for sharing, Shinyi and Davina. So for me, all my stages are considered quite in the high end. I do agree with these results because this company that I'm working at, as well as my previous company, they both made me feel very welcomed into the organization. I also feel very encouraged to learn new things and to also ask questions if I need to. And in terms of contributor safety, I do feel safe to suggest ideas without being humiliated. And lastly, I'm free to challenge the status quo. And this allows me to ask sensitive questions without like fearing that, maybe Ali or Vivian might scold me. Yeah, so and that's about it really. Is there anything else to add on?
Yeah, well done, Francisca, and thank you also for sharing, everyone. So yes, we do have a bit more information for you. So if you can see, yes, in the highlights area there, in the table, so it shows that how you can make amendments to both low and moderate scores. So one of the ways is to start small. How can we do that? Well, we can begin modeling the behavior we wish to see in our team, and so this can provide us to become more communicative with our colleagues, respecting the working hours, and maybe not being defensive when someone questions your idea. It's difficult but still possible. So as we try to find positive behaviors we're looking for and to increase those frequencies. So this can be through gaining awareness by writing down our thoughts or to ask others what they think about themselves as well. So this I hope this answer clarifies Jesse's questions and to Monica's as well.
Oh yeah, definitely. Mm. So yeah, communication is very important in the workspace, and yeah, to contribute to psychological safety as well. And thank you guys for sharing about your scores. Yeah, so like what Davina just said, a workspace can be like a system. Is if one changes, the other compartments may also start to change in a significant manner. Because a team should focus on this and that when they are feeling psychologically unsafe, and if the leader is leading the team towards a more brighter direction, maybe everyone will follow as well. So that's definitely a good thing to look into. So let's see. Do these results on my chart reflect my mental well-being as well?
Yes, Daniel. I think Yes, Daniel. I think these results do reflect your well-being, and a great point. It doesn't only necessarily limit you to your workplace. Well, it looks like you're having fun with your job, then.
Oh yeah, yeah, definitely. There's a lot of things to learn and contribute, and I feel value in the team as well. And I hopefully this translates to all of you as well. Hopefully, you guys also feel value and feel safe in the team. This is a psychologically safe environment. We don't judge anyone here, right? So yeah, but definitely not everyone feels that way. And like with the news and the personal experiences we shared earlier. So do we have any data for Malaysia, the average?
Yeah, about that, we do have some data from our company or Psych. Okay, I'll put a slide for you to see. So yeah, from this chart, we can see that the global ideal benchmark is 80% well-being and safety with 20% risk because some form of risks are important like for our personal growth. Okay, I'll show you another slide of our Malaysian benchmark data of Malaysia. So we are hovering around 66% of psychological safety on average, which shows that there are still some aspects that we have to improve on as a whole.
I see. So yeah, 66% is still not on par to the WHO and ISO standard of 80%. So there's a lot of things that we need to improve on that. But some things can be changed. Some things can be changed as well because psychological safety is contributed by internal and external factors. But let's focus on the stuff that we can actually do to improve our psychological safety on our end. So does anyone have any suggestion on how to do that?
Yes, so for me, I would follow the suggestions in the guidebook. as well as what was mentioned by Davina, which is to lead by example. So I would like to reflect on what I can do in the workplace that is within my control. So, like for instance, just now I said that I researched on how I could communicate more sensitively. So yeah, that's what I did lah. Like tried to do
Mhm.
that within my control, to be more clear with what I was trying to get across. And so some new things that I would do within my control would be to actively listen to those who have something to say or who want to share their thoughts. So it's very easy for me to say all these things and for y'all to like be encouraged, inspired to follow. But I don't think it's very easy to do. But we won't learn until we try lah.
So true.
Yeah, exactly. So I would also like to add on to Francisca's, like we can always be the ones first to ask questions in the team. Like if we have a good friend or supportive and interested in psych safety, they can join in by asking questions as well. So this practice will show people that it's alright to ask questions and know that we can understand things much more better in that way.
Yep, I totally agree with what Davina said. Oh, yeah, and another thing to keep in mind would be to realize that we actually all make mistakes and sometimes even misunderstood another. So we should practice being easier and supportive towards each other, helping like other people to like fix the issue, and we can see it as a learning curve for everyone instead of just like an opportunity to view someone or an opportunity to put someone down, I could say. So even if we receive bad feedbacks or being humiliated, we can try to change that mindset and see it as a good intention, so we can use it as a chance to know ourselves better.
Yeah.
Right. That's you guys explained it pretty well. That's very interesting. So, as flashed in the slide, so to make an environment more psychologically safe for yourself, so first thing, framework as a learning problem. Make you're learning. You're not expected to be perfect every time. So, and then second, acknowledge your own fallibility. That you're not perfect. It's okay to make mistakes, and you'll learn eventually, right? But because that's just life. So we have a question from Ali. How do you assess the app? Let's see. Let me switch to the next slide. You can actually access the app from this QR code, and when you're done, feel free. You can assess your psychological safety through this application, and when you're done, feel free to post your results on LinkedIn and tag us as well. We would like to hear from you guys. So that's about it, actually. So thank you guys for joining today and contributing to the webinar. That's about it for what we have on psychological safety. Yay.
Yay! Thank you so
So
much.
thank you. So if you want to learn more about psychological safety and how to improve it as a whole, feel free to contact Jingyin or the respective email there, jingyin@outside.com. So yeah, thank you all for listening, and be sure to write down what you think or ask any questions below. So now is the time to ask any questions. If anyone has more questions to ask, we'll give around like 10 seconds. Just joking. Yeah. Yeah. But even if you can't think of a question right now, you can also comment, and then we will address your questions later on.
You can just
But
email us, you know.
oh yeah, that's true. Yeah, like we say, we would really love to hear from you. But that's all from us actually, because we're running short on time. That's all from us, and I will see you guys next time. Goodbye.
Bye.